Okay friends, so how are you doing? And I hope you really are all doing good and having a great day. We will today do the NEET based question exercise of breathing and exchange of gases. Right, the first question, which of the following changes usually tend to occur in the plane dwellers, right, when they move to high altitudes? That means what is happening, when they are moving from plane to high altitude. See, whenever there is an increase, whenever there is an increase in height, or when you go upstairs, what you see is there will be a decrease in the partial pressure of oxygen, right, a decrease in the partial pressure of oxygen, and along with that there will be a decrease in atmospheric pressure. Right. Now, since there is a decrease in partial pressure of oxygen, that means more of RBC is required. More of RBC is required, to satisfy or to be given to the body. Okay, more of oxygen is required, and how can more of oxygen since the partial pressure of oxygen has reduced, so more of oxygen has to be taken in. So to to overcome that deficit. Now, how will that happen? More of RBC, and how will the RBC increase? So the cells of the kidney, right? The juxtaglomerular cells of kidney. Okay, they release a hormone called the erythropoietin hormone, which will bring about erythropoiesis, right? And also we will see that there will be an increase in red blood cell size, RBC size, and because of that increase in RBC size, what will happen? It will be able to take in more oxygen. That will that will help to encounter for this decrease in partial pressure of oxygen. So the correct answer would be this, that is increase in the RBC size. We will now go on to the next question, and that is what is the vital capacity of our lungs? Okay, so what is the vital capacity of our lungs? And what will we see? Inspiratory reserve volume plus the tidal volume, total lung capacity minus, right. So first of all, what we will see, the vital capacity that is VC is equal to what? The normal volume of air being taken in and that is inspired in and expired out, that is the tidal volume, right, that is the tidal volume TV, okay, plus the inspiratory reserve volume IRV plus plus inspiratory reserve volume IRV, right, plus the expiratory reserve volume ERV plus expiratory reserve volume ERV. Right, the tidal volume, the inspiratory reserve volume and the expiratory reserve volume, this is what the vital capacity is composed of. Now we will see, okay, tidal volume is a normal volume of air being taken inspired in and expired out, that is breathed in and breathed out. Inspiratory reserve volume is the extra volume of air that is being inspired in above. Okay, so when you're climbing the stairs, you are taking an extra volume of air above the normal volume, that is inspiratory reserve volume. Expiratory reserve volume is the extra volume of air that you breathe out after the normal expiration, and that is what is what is all about the vital capacity, right. Now the total lung capacity, right, total lung capacity is what? The vital capacity plus the residual volume. The vital capacity plus the residual volume, right? Obviously the vital capacity will be somewhere around, the range of this is 3500 to 4800 ml, okay, and right. So what is the vital capacity? Hence the vital capacity we can write it as the total lung capacity TLC minus RV. So inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume, okay, inspiratory reserve plus tidal volume, no, total lung capacity minus the respiratory, total lung capacity minus the expiratory reserve volume, right, that also will not be there. Inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume, no. Last one, total lung capacity minus the residual volume, and that would be the answer for this one, right. Okay. So now we move on to the next question. Blood analysis of a patient, right. Okay, this question looks like really big, and let's see, but all the big questions are very easy when you read them properly. So blood analysis of a patient reveals an unusually high quantity of carboxyhemoglobin content. Carboxyhemoglobin, okay, the combination of hemoglobin with carbon monoxide is called as carboxyhemoglobin. Which of the following conclusions is most likely to be correct? The patient has been inhaling polluted air containing unusually high content of carbon disulfide. Till this part, the patient has been inhaling polluted air containing polluted air. This part is correct, but carbon disulfide is not at all right. Okay, the patient has been inhaling polluted air, right? Polluted air, fine, containing a high content of chloroform. Patient will get unconscious. Chloroform is used for unconsciousness. The patient has been inhaling polluted air containing unusual high content of carbon dioxide, again wrong. And then the next one, the patient has been inhaling polluted air containing unusually high content of carbon monoxide, right, carbon monoxide. So that means this is definitely the right answer, okay. This is the right answer. So carbon monoxide, right, CO plus hemoglobin will form HbCO or COHb, whatever, carboxyhemoglobin, that is right, carboxyhemoglobin and right, carboxyhemoglobin. The affinity, right, the affinity of hemoglobin, towards carbon monoxide, towards CO, is 210 times more, is 210 times more than that of oxygen. Okay. So the affinity of hemoglobin towards carbon monoxide is 210 times more than that of oxygen, and hence the hemoglobin will combine with carbon monoxide readily, even though if the oxygen is present, and will form carboxyhemoglobin, right. So this will be the correct answer for this, right. Now we move on to the next question. When carbon dioxide concentration in blood increases, breathing becomes, yes. So whenever what the question is telling, that when the carbon dioxide concentration, right, when the carbon dioxide concentration in the blood increases, the breathing becomes what? The carbon dioxide in the blood, the carbon dioxide in the blood is released by the tissues, and on its enhancement, right, and on its enhancement, right, that is the enhancement, and on its enhancement there will be faster and deeper breathing, right, faster and deeper breathing, right, and on its enhancement there will be faster and deeper breathing, right. So that means what? The more is the carbon dioxide content in the tissue, the more is the carbon dioxide content in the blood which is released by the tissues, you will start breathing faster, because the system has to clear that carbon dioxide from your blood, it has to clear that carbon dioxide from your system, and hence would be released oxygen. Hence when you breathe in more faster, more of oxygen content will come in. So when carbon dioxide concentration in blood increases, breathing becomes shallow and slow. That is wrong. There is no effect on breathing, absolutely wrong. Slow and deep, wrong. Faster and deep, yes, this is the correct answer. Okay. Now we move on to the next question. The exchange of gases in the alveoli of the lungs takes place by, right. What would be the answer for this? Now, what is the site where the exchange of gases is taking place? Is the alveoli of the lungs, right. And the exchange of gases is taking place between the alveoli and the blood, right, isn't it? The exchange of gases is taking place between the alveoli and the blood. What happens? The oxygen will be getting inside the blood, and the carbon dioxide from the blood will get inside the alveoli, right. So what we can say, we can write this as oxygen, okay. So we will write this as carbon dioxide from the blood, right, carbon dioxide from the blood will enter the alveoli, okay. Carbon dioxide from the blood will enter the alveoli, and oxygen, right, and oxygen from the lungs, and oxygen that is from the alveoli of the lungs, and oxygen from the alveoli will enter the blood. Now we already know that the carbon dioxide will be in a higher concentration in blood than in the inspired air, because inspired air is having more of oxygen, and similarly the the oxygen concentration will be more in the inspired air, okay, than that in the tissue air, because that is than that in the blood air, than that in the blood, because that in the blood carbon dioxide, oxygen is it is the expired air which is coming in the blood, okay, because carbon dioxide is giving out and that carbon dioxide dissolves in the plasma and then comes, okay, and then comes in the blood, gets transported in the blood. So, oxygen concentration is more in alveoli and carbon dioxide concentration is more in blood. Hence, there would be diffusion of these gases, there would be simple diffusion or diffusion, whatever we want to say, there would be diffusion of these gases as diffusion of gases takes place from a region of high concentration, from region of high concentration to region of low concentration, to region of low concentration, right. So, oxygen concentration is more in alveoli and carbon dioxide concentration is more in the blood. Hence, there would be diffusion of these gases as diffusion of gases takes place from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. So, this will be simple diffusion, right. Now, we will move on to the next question, that is the sixth one we will do. In alveoli of the lungs, the air at the site of gas exchange is separated from the blood by the first one, alveolar epithelium only, alveolar epithelium and capillary endothelium, alveolar epithelium, capillary endothelium and tunica adventitia, and then D, alveolar epithelium, capillary endothelium, a thin layer of tunica media and tunica adventitia. This definitely is not there. Alveolar epithelium only, this definitely is not there. Okay, alveolar epithelium, capillary endothelium and tunica adventitia, alveolar epithelium and capillary endothelium, right. So, this will be my correct answer. Now, let us see why we got this as the correct answer. In alveoli of the lungs, the air at the site of gas exchange, all right. See, whenever the gas exchange has to take place, the epithelium has to be the thinnest, because we have already said in the previous, that is why I gave this question, okay. I chose this question because there is a link between the previous and this one. We said diffusion of gases, there is no active energy and hence these would not be having much energy. So, the diffusion has to take place through and diffusion is through a semi-permeable membrane. So, diffusion has to take place through one of the most friendly membrane possible, and since okay. So, diffusion of gases at the alveoli level, right, at the alveoli, right. So, diffusion of gases at the alveoli gases between alveoli takes place between, right, for the alveoli we have the alveolar epithelium, the alveolar epithelium and for the capillary, okay, and for the capillary we have the capillary endothelium, the capillary endothelium. Right. So, diffusion of gases between the alveoli takes place between the alveoli, alveolar epithelium, the capillary endothelium, and that is how you know the diffusion of gases is taking place. Okay. So, that is why you know the capillary endothelium will consist of only the tunica interna, and since these two epithelium are the thinnest over here, so diffusion of gases will take place easily between them. Okay. So, you know it will be like this, right, with their basement membrane obviously. Let us go to the next question. The quantity 1500 ml in the respiratory volume of a normal human adult refers to, right. What we have seen already, we have talked about is the total lung capacity, which is equal to what? Which is equal to the vital capacity plus the residual volume. And right, we have already said that the vital capacity is somewhere between 305, that is 3500 to 4800 ml, right. So, and the residual volume is somewhere between 1500 ml. So, how much would this come out to be? This would come out to be, the total lung capacity would be 5000 to how much? 5000 and 5000 plus how much? 1300, that is 6300 ml. Right. Now, what is the residual volume? So, the quantity 1500 ml, the quantity 1500 ml in the respiratory volume of a normal adult refers to the maximum air that can be breathed in and breathed out. What is this? This is the tidal volume, right. This is the normal volume which can be breathed in and breathed out during normal respiration, right. What is the expiratory reserve volume? Expiratory reserve volume is the volume of air that can be breathed out, you know, after, that is forceful expiration after the normal respiration, right. So, expiratory reserve volume, right. So, the expiratory reserve volume is the, you know, the volume which you try to expire out or exhale out after the normal, you know, after the normal breathing, that is over the tidal volume, and that is what we said. So, okay. So, this vital capacity is tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus the expiratory reserve volume. Okay, tidal volume plus the inspiratory reserve volume plus the expiratory reserve volume, and that is what we mean by the vital capacity. Okay, and total lung capacity you have seen. So, this is the residual volume. Now, what is the residual volume? What is the residual volume? What is the residual volume? So, the residual volume is the volume of air, you know, that remains in the lungs, especially in the alveoli, even after forceful expiration. This part of the lungs, this part of the air, you know, does not take part in the normal exchange or respiration. Okay. So, we can say this is the volume of air, this is the volume of air that remains, okay, this is the volume of air that remains in the lungs, that remains in the lungs even after normal expiration, right. So, this is the volume of air that remains in the lungs even after normal expiration, and we have already seen that this is equal to 1500 ml. This is equal to 1500 ml, right. Sorry, this is the volume of air that remains in the lungs after forceful expiration. Remains in the lungs, that would be expiratory reserve volume that remains in the lungs after forceful expiration. After forceful expiration. And this is going to be 1500 ml, right. This is the residual volume. Now, let us get ahead and let us see in the alveoli of the lungs, okay, I have got back. The air is breathed through the trachea, right. The air is breathed through the trachea, lungs, larynx, pharynx, alveoli. You know, we all know how the air goes in. Okay, it goes in through the nostrils and then to the nasal chamber, and then from the nasal chamber, you know, it goes to the pharynx part. In the pharynx, the nasopharynx, then the oropharynx, the laryngopharynx, and then it goes, you know, after the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchi, the primary, secondary, tertiary bronchioles, and then finally alveoli, and then the air. You know, yes. That is the whole way of, you know, of the passage or the pathway of the air that we follow. I mean that the air follows, not we follow. So, the first one, trachea, lungs, larynx, pharynx, alveoli, no, you know, this does not make sense at all. Okay, this does not make at all any sense. Then we see the next one, that is the nose, the larynx, the pharynx, okay, the nose, okay. The larynx comes before the pharynx. How come this is possible? So, this is again wrong, right. Then the third one, we say nostrils, yes, the two nostrils, or the external layers we call as pharynx, yes, nasal chamber, pharynx. Then the larynx, yes, larynx. Then the trachea, yes, trachea. Then the bronchi, the bronchioles and the alveoli, and then this is the correct answer. Okay, this is the correct answer. And, you know, see the last, nose, mouth and lungs. I mean, that does not make any sense. How does, you know, nose, mouth and lungs, I mean from the nose getting out from the mouth and getting back into the lungs, you know, I think this is not definitely human beings. Okay, right. So, what we see next, we will go on to the next question. The alveolar epithelium in the lung is non-ciliated, columnar, non-ciliated squamous, ciliated columnar and ciliated squamous, right. So, the alveolar epithelium in the lung is definitely, you know, the alveolar epithelium in lungs is non-ciliated, okay, non-ciliated, and apart from being non-ciliated, it is lined by simple squamous cells, okay. It is lined by the simple lined by simple squamous cells. Okay. So, the alveolar epithelium in the lungs, the alveolar epithelium in the lungs is non-ciliated and lined by simple squamous cells, right. You know, in the upper respiratory tract, we will see in the upper respiratory tract, right, the cells will be ciliated. The cells will be ciliated. So, in the upper respiratory tract the cells will be ciliated, and there is also reason for that, why the cilia, because it has to beat, or it has to push the things forward, and that is why we say that in the upper respiratory tract the cells will be ciliated, right. So, friends, with this, okay, so the answer for this would be that the alveolar epithelium in the lung is non-ciliated and squamous, and hence this would be the right answer for this one. So, friends, with this we have come to the end of this NEET question exercises for breathing and exchange of gases. Hope you have enjoyed it. We will try to upload some more. Take care of your health and try to have a nice time. Thank you.